Let's make sure. Start recording. Start stream. Are you sure you want to start the stream? Okay.
It tells me we're live 10 seconds in.
Yes, same here.
Nice. Welcome, everybody. And
Hey, guys.
like I was just going over, I don't know what I'm doing with the streaming stuff yet, but I have all these cool visuals that eventually will blend in with OBS and YouTube when I learn what the heck I'm doing.
Trial
so
by
that'll be
fire.
fun. I know. And yeah, we'll get there. So
Yeah, sometimes you just got to jump in.
right.
That's why I'm so proud of you for taking that initiative.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man. Let me see if I can figure out how to remove my OBS on here because it's not necessary. Edit layout. There we go. We don't need that. Cool. All right. So let's see. When is the stream? We might have Shades popping in. Let's see if he's available.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, right now too, especially. He's like, when is the stream? Just started.
Yeah, we got
Hop
room for him.
in if you can. Come on in. Please. All right. So there's a lot going on with Genius. With the chat's been pretty busy of everybody just kind of biting their nails waiting for Gen FTs and the collateral vault opening up in the updates. So I think that's one thing that's definitely going to be covered here today. I'm sure anyone who's tuning in or watching, they're just like, so about those Gen FTs and about the upgrades. Yep, we're all still waiting. We're all
2
still
more
waiting.
weeks.
Yeah.
One of my big things recently has really been the miners, and I don't fully understand how those work yet. I've been in crypto a while, but I've got kind of a layman's understanding from the tech side. And so I definitely want to understand the miners better at some point, how that relates to the collateral vault, etc.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen the meme today that I put out, but it's got what I'm calling the 4 pillars of genius on the right side. And so one of those is, the feature-rich miners. And I think, that's a very important topic to cover. Interestingly enough, I decided that I want to do a little prep work for this show, and I wrote those 4 points down, and then I started writing details underneath those, points that I wanted to cover. And I mean, I've completely covered a page now just with kind of the basics. So I don't want to get too carried away. I mean, I honestly, it would take a lot of time to go into this much depth.
Sure.
But that's just one good thing about Genius is the level of depth. There's always a deeper understanding. I mean, I haven't found the bottom yet. And I've been through that white paper so many times, and there's always more in there. It's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So would you like to talk a little bit about the miners? I could go over some notes I've got here if that's helpful.
Oh, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, what came to mind for me is, first of all, that, the miners are user mined. So we have control of our keys and of our own tokens. So there's no fiduciary that's, holding the genie for us, that's allowing us to do this. That responsibility is on us. And, it's just, in the history of crypto, it's just case after case of, fiduciaries violating their responsibilities and, running off with coins in all manners possible. So, it's an essential cornerstone of the miners is that they're yours and you're in full control. So another point was, and just stop me if you're, if you want to follow up on anything.
No, that's critical.
Yes. Another point was the high yield APY. So all of the yield that I've come across, especially the 4444 miners are just fantastic. I mean, just unbelievable APY. Just things dreams are made of. You can really compound your positions quickly. by mining and locking that up. And I even noticed I've got a Polygon miner that's at 36%.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, where else are you going to get 36% return on something that has the price appreciation potential of this platform? So
Yeah, it's
I thought that was
incredible.
spectacular. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So
We have a guest. Hey, Shades.
looks like you're
Hello.
Hey Shades.
No. Hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
Hey, awesome to be here, guys and girls. So
Yeah.
I just came in. I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to kind of continue with that thought on the an APY, and just let me know when you're sort of kind of like at the logical stop. I'd like to chime in on that.
Yeah, regarding the API, I was just going to give it a cursory comment. So just that, I'm noticing Polygon had the highest one, the highest APY that I've checked in my case. Other users may have other experiences. They'd have to chime in on that. But yeah, feel free to comment, Shades.
So on the point of high APY, the estimation for the actual or factual APY is much, much lower. So estimation goes with a standard formula of your time in the miner plus, or actually multiply by the length of the miner by the size of the miner, right? And so you got two bonuses. You got bonus for the size and you get a bonus for the length. And so let's say you're locking for 4444 or whatever length you want, and so you get like 10% face value APY. So that's sort of the guaranteed part. The not guaranteed part, the thing that kind of lurks behind the surface, if you will, are all the fees that get paid to active miners that are staked or mined or active, I should say, right? By everybody who's ending out of sync, either early or late. And with emergence of GNFTs, we're going to have twice as many income streams into the miners. There'll be royalties, right? And so you can think of APY as the face value one, the 10 to 20%, right? But then you have those surges. You'd see like 30%, 40% APY, maybe one day, maybe 2 days, occasionally, right? And so when you come out of that miner, you're probably going to average a lot more. I don't know how much more because it's unknowable, right? We don't know who's going to end early, late, generate fees or royalties, but the estimation is the minimum, right? And so don't forget the fact that you're gonna end up with a lot more APY once the miner ends, and the more you stay, your miner stays active, right? Or profitable, generating yield, the more you're gonna make it. The second point is that in other systems, you stake it and forget it. There is nothing you can do about it. The only way you can get out of your promise is if you end early, right? Basically incurring a lot of penalty. Genius is that way. It's actually a lot more harsh on ending early. However, it gives you a couple of more ways of getting out of your miner, and I think that's a good thing because it's building an economy around your miner, right? So you can auction it off. That's one thing. So let's just say you're in the bind, you need liquidity, you can auction it off. And so if you initially thought that you're gonna lock it for 444, right, and then you probably halfway through, you can auction it off without early ending penalty or harsh early ending penalty, but your price is going to be what the market is going to bear, right? But that's available to you. And the second way you can get out of your promise is sort of the two trains meeting, right? The first train going down, like you've staked for a lengthy time, and then you want to get out early. Or with GNFTs, you'd be able to say, okay, well, I'm not sure I want to stake that long, I'm going to stake short or mine short, but then I'm going to buy NFTs and pay for extension of my miner. So the other train is coming up from kind of like extending your short miners into the long miners, and you perpetually pay for your extension. That's good for you because you don't necessarily incur early unstake penalty, right? And also you can guarantee yourself the IQ shares for the next 30, 40, 60, 90 days or whatever you're willing to pay. That's the reason why getting an GNFTs is great, and you can actually pitch in to calibrate your miners on the upside as well as you could auction them on the downside, right? And so both of the trains generate yield for active miners. Even like if you decide to extend your miner by spending GNFTs, active miners get paid. So if you are active and you also extend, you get paid. You pay yourself essentially as well as others. So I think if we talk about the systems of time locks, Genius gives you an economy as opposed to just the face value CD, as many would like to equate it to, which is completely untrue because you have multiple revenues. You have APY that is not known, but you do have a minimum, and you also have flexibility as to how you want to calibrate your time mining, and if possible, you can extend that. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I'm super pumped for these Gen FTs. I'm hearing they're coming out soon, right?
Like I said, we're all
Robert,
just biting our nails about it.
Please.
There was some talk about Friday.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think they're in the works. I think they're being deployed now. But yeah.
All right. Well, gives us a lot to look forward to. I'm excited to see the advanced functionality. It's a big selling point. Some of these features, like the auction feature, was built on top of other time lock plus yield, right? With, I'm thinking of, can we say hex? Can I say hex on this stream? I'm just
Too
saying
late.
with
Yep.
Yeah, with that product, they had to build an additional token on top, and go through Hedron to get all of that done, and it's just more clunky, having to acquire those tokens and then go make the purchase. It's neat how all of that's incorporated on the Genius site, where you can just go over there and bid on an auction and get the miner directly. So
yeah, that's actually a good point to extend on as well. So we're not really judging Hedron or Max token or whatever derivatives they do on the base hex. However, think of it this way: you by having more tokens, your value kind of gets diluted, right, off of base token. So money that could have gone into hex now has to go and play some other tokenomic strategies. Whether you'll win or not, that's another story. But the fact remains that if you have $1,000, now you have options to kind of play 3 4 different projects on top of hex, except for actually buying hex in Genius. So you bind one token, and then it accrues the entire value of the ecosystem or the economy accrues to one token. So we've talked about royalties, we've talked about auctions, we've talked about simple and advanced mining. The burn contributes to one token and one token only, right? So it's a difference in philosophies whether you want to build scalable. Well, technically, if you want to build scalable systems, you can actually have multiple projects, and each project does its own little thing. That's a viable idea. However, from tokenomic perspective and value accrual, you're actually diluting already large supply. Aside from OA, Hex OA holding a bunch of hacks, but like what's out on the market and the size of that ecosystem, now you're starting chipping away. And with the emergence of pulse chain, I think there's going to the trend is going to continue, right? Then you have some derivatives that will start working on that. Not that it will not happen for Genius, but the core tokenomics before it even gets to that has been thought through to include most of the things that not only work for the benefit of the miners, but also for the benefit of the system itself and the token, right? And so, if we are here for price appreciation, and I'm the last person to talk about the price itself, but the economics of Genius is sort of smoothing all the rough edges to be able to accrue to one token as opposed to kind of give it up for other projects to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very fluid. I love all these features. One feature that I'm not real clear on though is royalties. It's been mentioned several times, but I don't actually know what you're referring to when you mention royalties.
So, we don't see the contract. So my explanation, my understanding is just that, my understanding of what's coming. But essentially, NFTs, and we've gone through that with Chrissy before on the first stream. But essentially, um, NFTs are there for memorability for some, but most importantly, NFTs are there to increase the kind of like facilities or features of Genius itself vis-a-vis miners, right? Extension of the miners or whatnot. So royalties are fees that are paid by somebody who wants to participate in that extension of miners or cancellation of miners or modification of their mining promises or clearing or ending the miners for somebody else. So visually, you can think of it as an add-on to a collateral vault. Right now, you can come in and you can say, "There's unsettled debt. Let me clear it. Let me sell some Genie to it, get some collateral out." Right, but that's outside of that sort of economy, right? You're just coming in and you're doing an arbitrage. With royalties, what you will be able to do is you can say, okay, how much does it cost for me to come in and clear somebody else's NFT? They bought NFT for $1,000. The money went into the contract. The contract mined with the money over the collateral vault, right? It doesn't sit there. What it does, it intelligently deploys the money people spend on NFTs when they buy them into the collateral vault, creating smaller miners, right? Smaller collateral miners. And so somebody can line up to come in and those miners and get some percentage, like 14 to 16% of value of that miner, which was essentially initially was generated by the NFT sales, right? And that way, the person makes 14 to 16 percent of the value of the miner, which is to say the value of NFT, right? um, and the fees are actually getting burned as well through so basically everything. So the royalties are, think of royalties as when you buy an NFT, the contract that you send money to buy an NFT is making miners and making money for itself, not on your behalf, but just because the money flew into the contract and it can make that yield. So it's sharing its yield with collateral miners that you generate or somebody else creates, right? But then there is another facet when somebody comes in and can clear those miners and get some money out of it. It's kind of like it's a three-step process where it's similar to you clearing your own or ending your own collateral miner, only in this case it's not your miner, it's the miner for the NFT contract that mined the royalties generated from NFT. It's a little bit complex. I probably did not explain it really well. Let me know when what questions you may have and we can explore it further.
All right, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd say, can you guys hear me?
You're very faint.
Try this. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was my problem. No, I appreciate all that, Shades, and I certainly am trying to dive more into the technical side. So as I hear all that more, it starts to sink in a little better. Um, and what you were before that discussing as far as keeping it to one token, I've always thought that although you can onboard a lot of people that may be in similar communities, um, if you are maybe I'd say overly complicated, but there's a lot of moving parts. And with Genius, there seems to be a lot of moving parts, but it's been kept, at least for me, I've been able to follow it and understand it better than some of the other projects that have a similar number of moving parts. And I think that makes it easier to onboard new users, because the bottom line to me has always been, if you have two things all being equal, people are going to go for the simpler option. I just think as a general rule, that's what's going to happen. So even though there's a lot of moving parts, it's been kept that it's explainable in such a way that if I can follow it, most people probably can to some degree.
That's how I feel about it. I always say that I'm part of more of the user experience side. It's like
Yes.
I have some deeper knowledge of blockchain and crypto, but I also am more about onboarding people. So I try to keep closer to the more basics.
Yep.
So I'm more like, all right, yeah, buy your tokens, lock your miners up,
Yep.
and then as they start seeing the progress of their revenue, their real revenue, they're just like starting to dig a little bit at a time, taking little bites, taking little pieces of each section,
Totally
and
agree.
then the questions start coming out. I mean, that's how it happened naturally with us.
Sure.
So I'm not a deep diver to look at the analytics, this, that, and the other until Shades like brought it on a beautiful display on Geni.best. but I wouldn't have found that stuff on my own. But at least we know the tools and the resources are there to answer
Yeah.
these questions.
Yeah, and I really think that is great, because I think that projects have lost people over the years by either not being able to explain or not having that stuff ready, and people lose interest fairly fast. But if it's overly complicated, and not easily explainable, I think you start to lose people, and we need to gain people, not lose. But Shades, I think what you're talking about does that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody can find something ingenious.
yes,
Robert talked about real economy. So people tend to gravitate to what they understand best. If they're coming from like financial background, they grasp some features a lot faster than others. But then somebody finds the niche. Like for example, I've been observing that there are 3 or 4 accounts that have been consistently releasing shares right on the clock from late miners or miners that haven't kept up with their promises. And so I don't know if these people actually mine. I don't know if
Log
they're arbitrage.
from late miners or miners.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the niche that they found, right? Like they found a steady stream of income that they make. Somebody has been, ending or summarizing the days, genius days, even at the detriment to their financial sort of. Well, let's just face it. Like on Ethereum, to end the miner, let's just say it costs $4 to $10, right? At high fees, or at high gas fees times. And so people have been doing it and they've been getting NFTs, right? Like, and so why were they doing it? Maybe because they found a way to be faster than others to do it, right? And so as the price rises, they will be able to get 10,000, 100,000 genius, but the price is going to be different. And so it makes sense to allocate some time to learn about this functionality and kind of do that for some of us. Right. And so why do they need NFTs? Maybe it's memorabilia, but I'm thinking it's for when GNFTs come out and they show their true colors, and you should have a bag of your NFTs to be able to spend on whatever you want with miners themselves, as we talked before. And so, those types of things kind of lead me to believe that people do what they do, and it's not just the staking that they can do, right? Not a lot of, well, some people are not passive by nature. They need to do something. They need to go and trade. They need to go settle to the vault. They need to go summarize. They need to do something to see the flow of money. And so Genius allows you sort of to get to that point by expanding what you can do and contribute to the system itself. So you have economic interest, but you also burn a ton of fees, right? And so if the goal for us is to burn more and stake more and kind of lock everything into the collateral vault, you are on a path to price appreciation.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating system.
Is that a good segue, you think, to the collateral vault as where we're at?
Yeah, I would say so. I think so. Shades is going to have a superior technical understanding, of the project. Mine's going to be more layman terms, so I'm okay if you want to take the lead, Shades. That's good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's not a let's just say it's not a complex concept, but it is a foreign concept to many, right? And that's what we're probably struggling with. It's to find means to explain it in the simplest terms, because at the end of the day, probably a lot of people are not going to want or need to dive into technicals of the collateral vault as long as they understand high level what they can do with it, how they can interface with it, or what they can get out of it, right? And so diving into technicals of it may not be necessarily the right path, but what I'm going to say is it is a revolutionary technology for your own benefit. The reason why it is because it defies the rules of open market. In an open market, your price is a subject of supply and demand, but it's predictable and it goes one way. Less supply, high fee, high price goes up. More supply, price goes lower. Right? It's been like that forever in every market. So collateral vault, because it is a third party, non-biased, not human actor, like you would see an open market, because an open market you'd have actors that are serving their own purposes naturally and rightfully so. So you would have a market maker, you'd have an exchange, you'd have excuse me, MEV bot, you'd have all these parties that are trying to make money off of a transaction. In the case of collateral vault, it is a third party agnostic arbiter of truth being the price of genius. But the way it does so, it actually works to the benefit of everybody in this ecosystem. I shouldn't even say that it's unbiased. I would say it's uncoercible and unmodifiable, with a clear path to providing opportunities to both parties, the settlers and the issuers of debt. So to expand on this, this is the AI part, right? That's the engine, the uncorruptible, the uncoercible, and unmodifiable rule set of things, how price should move. Should it move down? Should it move up? And it should actually, whether it moves up or down, it moves in one direction of actually, benefiting both the issuers of debt and the settlers of collateral. Um, so for people to understand what collateral vault does, it essentially gives better prices for those who want to buy, and it gives better prices for those who want to sell. If you think about that concept, it's very rare in an open market where you get both, right? You either, so it's a zero-sum game for a lot of people in an open market. Somebody sells, their bag, and somebody buys it. They think it's worth more, but then the person gets economic energy in terms of collateral, or the other way around. Somebody bets on altcoin rising, and they want to destage their collateral.
Yeah, if I
So
can add to that
yeah,
too, it's like what Robert and other people have been saying. Commerce, it's a commerce. Some people prefer to hold on to whatever their product is. Other people if they want to sell it, they have different you got eBay, you've got Amazon, you have all these different options. Every one depends on what your research was and what fits you. And are when you're purchasing, are you using coupons? Are you using, everyone has their way of using a storefront or a retail store or things of that nature. And that's really when you look at it in a package like that, it's like, well, what's going to work for me on how I'm going to utilize my buy, sell, trade, what have you, or hold with Genius.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned coupons. Coupons are incentivization mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so collateral vault not only needed to solve the issue of giving different prices and measuring sort of intent of people to participate with depositing or clearing collateral out of the vault, but it also needed to find a way to operate in such a way that it incentivizes people to actually do that, right? What good is a set of rules if it doesn't actually make people participate in them? You can have the best system in the world with on paper, but the economic incentives do not work and people just don't engage. Conversely, in the collateral vault, what we've seen, most people are actually crying that they can't actually work with collateral vault because they have seen what it can do. It can give 20-30% discount on their miners, or they can give or it can give 20 to 40% upside on settling of debt out of it, right? And so the dichotomy of the system that is not damaged by anybody, but it's just like triangulation of intent of both sides coming in and actually trying to profit really for themselves. um, it's fascinating. That's the thing that differentiates Genius from any other system. It's the fact that not knowing the open market price from DEX, it's still able to somehow incentivize people to actually participate by dropping the price on one side and making the price go higher on the other side. That engine, when we talked about value accrual to one token, so that engine is not only in the collateral vault, it's distributed across the whole system. So now we've learned that the royalties are going to be operating through the collateral vault miners. And so everything sort of revolves around that engine in the vault, but the facets and the interfaces and the vectors are coming in from people depositing their either collateral or Genie is sort of distributed across multiple ways that people can make money here. So collateral vault in this case, um, it's a meeting point, it's a liquidity pool that grows in value over time. And because it's benevolent, meaning it gives better prices to both buyers and sellers, it's bound to attract a lot more people to actually trade over it, right? Because dexes are not independent parties. We've just seen Hex being killed on Uniswap. Whatever
Yeah,
you, whatever,
disappointing.
whatever you say about Hex, whether you like it or not, this is not the way to go for decentralized system, right?
Right.
And so you almost have to design a system that will be completely agnostic from influences of external economic parties or legal parties to be able to withstand the onslaught that we're seeing here, on crypto. So collateral vault is not only doing profit arbitrage for both parties, it's also an entity that cannot be controlled or forced to be shut down, right? It's now paused, but once the you can deploy a different version of it, right? Or you can deploy different code or enhance its features. But when it's there is no Uniswap admin that can say blacklist that address or
Mm-hmm.
whitelist that entity. And we can dive deeper into like the exact workings of the collateral vault, but basically very very high level philosophical view of the vault is the AI system, the engine that is not corruptible, that is not changeable in its rules, and the one that does not know the market and therefore cannot be influenced by the market. It can only be influenced by the intent of people wanting to sell something to it or wanting to buy something from it, right? It's a independent market arbitrage.
Could I give a shot at giving a layman's definition and see how you
Yes,
feel about
please.
that definition?
Yeah.
So, how I've interpreted the collateral vault, I would describe it as a built-in decentralized exchange, right? It's built into the contract, and so you have the opportunity to exchange Genie on 5 chains for 5 native coins or 5 USD-backed stable coins, right? And so, that trade can go either way. You can acquire Genie with those coins, or you can sell Genie and acquire those coins. And there's a variety of, um, you know, burning that takes place during this process, and it's a little more complex than maybe how I've described it. But I think from a layman's perspective, you're swapping coins. You're swapping Genie for Matic, ETH, Pulse, AVAX, BNB, or stable coins on those chains as well. Do you agree with that, Shades?
Generally, yes. However, I would modify the swapping part to say that, so you're like, the question becomes, why is it different than DEX then, right? Is it not just the same liquidity pool, only made by Genius? And I think the sort of augmentation to your explanation would be that the buying part, when you do the swap colloquially, right, you are actually getting a credit to a miner that is longer than 90 days. So you have a delayed emission of your collateral on the other side. So it's not a swap one to one. It's a delayed swap, if you will.
Right. It's a swap that takes 90 days, right, at the earliest,
And
and it
pays you
does.
yield. And pays you
Yeah.
yield. Instead of you paying yield to the exchange or DEX, to the liquidity provider, right? You get paid the yield.
Absolutely. And you get paid the yield regardless of if you've deposited Genie or if you've deposited, those other coins that I mentioned. You're getting yield either way.
You can
And
only
rumor has
deposit collateral. I'm sorry. Yeah, not Genie, either stable coins or native coins.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I've been
So
telling people
the
like,
Genie redemption, you would put that in a different category.
The So essentially, you are saying, I have an automobile, I can pawn it for a credit to get cash back. It's a pawn shop. You're coming in and you're saying, I've got my collateral, I've got my house, I got my vehicle, I've got my diamonds, whatever the case may be. In this case, it's native coins or stable coins. And I can say, hey, Mr. Pawn Shop owner, can you take $1,000 of dye and give me a promise and a rental of a credit for a miner? And the pawn shop says, sure, right? Here, give me your $1,000 in dye. That's going to be a collateral. We're going to keep it safe until you mine for the 90 plus days. And when you're done, you can come in and retrieve your collateral. But be sure to know that once you come in and want to retrieve your collateral, we can give you the value of your collateral, not necessarily in the form of your collateral, but we can give you it in Genie. And that's going to depend within the 90 plus days that you've been mining or taking that credit from us and using the money that we've given you under your collateral. Is going to depend whether other people are interested in your collateral. It's almost like a consignment over pawn shop, where somebody, you're coming in and you're giving them some asset, and they will say, okay, we're going to put it for consignment, and if somebody wants to buy it on the other side, you're going to get Genius, right? If they don't want to buy your consignment in collateral, you're going to get collateral back. You're going to get your old things you want to sell back. So basically, in a very, very like layman's term, it's a consignment pawn shop that allows you to use the money to make more money with it by meaning, you're making a little bit of yield, like whatever, 10-20%, whatever you've promised to make by staking longer and higher, right? But essentially the rules of the game is it's a delayed opportunity to make that yield, but you have to give something up. You have to lock your collateral, and you have to be okay with the chance that you may not get your collateral in the form of collateral, but you're going to get a value of your collateral in the form of Genie when you're done with your mining. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. For
I
me,
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the concept. It's really hard to explain uh, comprehensively with a simple statement, right? Because there's so many details. Like it's possible to deposit the collateral and nobody wants it, like Shades was pointing out. And so after 90 days or however long you've deposited it for, then you would go and retrieve that collateral. And I think the reason that it may not be wanted would only be was the price beneficial to the person redeeming the Genie. Would you agree with that, Shades?
You got it. Absolutely. Without going into other old intricacies, that's exactly what it is. It's an option to get your collateral back.
Right.
Okay, that's helpful.
we got a question here, guys. What's up, Hopeball as well? What's y'all's favorite chain to accumulate, Geni? I'll go ahead and go first. I'm across all chains. I'm really liking Polygon right now. I'm looking more about what Polygon's about, what they do, things of that nature. But I'm across all chains, evenly distributed.
I'm pretty even on Ethereum and Pulse chain at the moment.
Yeah, I'm on all chains. I would say I'm probably partial to Polygon and also Pulse. Uh, I think Pulse is just fun. I like that
Pulse
chart
is
on Pulse.
the chart's what's driving people to Pulse, and most definitely, I think we've all waited long enough for it, and the hype's real right now.
Right, and the privacy features that Polygon's building out, that'll be really interesting to follow, and I'm really looking forward to the details.
Yeah. How about
Yeah,
you,
I
Shades?
need to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I need to. I do need to dive more into Polygon. I've played with it a little bit, but I need to open myself up to some more of that. So that's definitely on my list too. But currently, Pulse and Ethereum.
All all chains, but in different weighting, and that weighting for me personally changes with like, I don't know if we want to get into like discussing that, but I think a lot of things I've kind of laid out on Telegram group for me is regulatory clarity, the fees in terms of longer term versus short term miners, uh, ability to kind of have more tools, or foresee to have more tools on one chain or the other, a community for the L1 itself as opposed to community in Genius, right? It's there are many sort of facets to that sort of allocation, but I want to say is the yield is the yield, right? And so if you have 20% on your yield, it doesn't really matter where you get it from. The question becomes um, all the other things what you want to do with the yield, right? Once you get it on a specific chain, whether it's on Pulse, Ethereum with their high fees, but you know other things that are more appealing there, or Polygon with technology that they're working on. However, weighing in regulatory clarity with Polygon and Pulse chain, right? And AVAX with you know their way of doing things, and how they're developing their DeFi ecosystem. So basically, it's a trade off anywhere you go for me.
Yeah, trade off is it. I'm really digging the like I'm always going to be a fan of Ethereum because I can't help it. That's what kind of started me on Web3 was Ethereum. So even with their terrible fees and things that have happened in the past, the popularity of it is what's keeping me there. Um, Avalanche is definitely starting to get the attention of a lot of gamers and NFT projects. Their privacy too is awesome, but they're part of esports. I could see a lot of potential of the gaming industry utilizing Genius because Genius is what's great about it is that it's very customizable to what you want. It meets a lot of needs. Um, and then of course, even Polygon just with not only the fees but and the privacy, but they've been really working hard on adoption as well. A lot like how Pulse has, but Pulse just doesn't have the users they do yet because Polygon's been around even before when it was Matic. Give it some years like Polygon. I'm sure they'll be there too. So that's where I'm at with those guys.
Yeah, I think all of them offer real value, and I don't think that
Mm.
you can go wrong on any chain. You just have to
So
know what you're
there's
getting
a lot
yourself
of question. Yeah, and a big question people have, especially like during the release or like this question we just had with what is our favorite chain to accumulate. Um, the what would you guys say is the benefit of being on multiple chains with Geni with how much Geni's available on the market, um, market conditions, things of that nature. And I've also wanted to talk about about the AI, how it's working, and on the markets where the charts look very similar, in my opinion. So those are something I wanted to mention or see if you guys had any comments on.
Charts do work similar, and in fact, there's a chart now where everybody sort of converged at 5551, right, as the price. However, they got there, whether somebody dumped the price or somebody worked with collateral wall to end the miners. But right now, you know everything is sort of coalescing around that. I would call it a bottom, right? But it's like a rounded bottom, sort of. And so I think, and plus, if you look at the numbers for collateral vault, they all pretty much reached a certain number of locked, 4 or 5% within the first 180 days, right? And so it's it's kind of like this, right? When you see prices that are different on different chains, you arbitrage, right? And you say, if your base case is that you can make yield anywhere on any chain, the 10 to 20% or whatever you're mining for, then it's best to get in where the chain is cheaper. And if you can fight the MEV bots by using the right RPC, you're upping the value for your buy. And then you look at the liquidity and you say, okay, today Ethereum has more liquidity than on any other chain, and maybe I want to spend $1,000 on it. That's a decision for you to come in on that chain, right? And maybe, but anyway, we can talk for hours on trade-offs. I would say that risk management is the biggest one, right?
Hmm.
What is your risk for, some chain not providing, viable solutions for the time that you're mining your Genius? If you lock 4444, it's 12 years. You got to think about your miners and whether that chain is going to be viable by the time you end, right? And to what degree and what changes are going to happen to it. Are they going to modify the code? Somebody's going to shut it down. On a smaller time scale, obviously, you may not even care if it's like 3, 4, 5 months or even up to a year, that you're locking your miners, right? Any chain. But if you start looking into your strategy, where to keep things, risk management for L1 itself and where it's going, it's probably the paramount.
Yeah, for me, it's a combination of it's risk management, like you said, and just that's why I need to dig into Polygon some more, and maybe even Avalanche. It's just for me, it's hedging, But like you said, if I can make yield on any chain, then I'm just hedging as things develop. People see value in different places at different times.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, we went over our half hour and I'm excited about that. Can I just say that?
We get a lot of content. There's always so much more.
Yeah, I'm going to be here every Friday. So keep on popping in. You guys are always invited. That was awesome. Oh, Yannick's saying something too. He says, thanks for doing the stream. You guys rock. Great discussion and feedback. Vic earlier said shout out to the Geni OGs. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, we definitely covered a lot. One thing I want to mention before we wrap things up is that Genius is true AI in a smart contract using a token, Geni, across 5 chains. So those who are tuning in for the first time or just starting to dabble in or learning more, don't overwhelm yourself. There's get your tokens, get locked up. It's early. We're before the bull run. We're going to have a lot of fun learning together. There's always going to be things to learn about. See if you want to fine tune your position, but we're all in a great position right now, and that's the exciting part. We're still, most of the chains are 0.00001 or 5 zeros and a 8. So we're really at a good position to when the bull market hits and we're at a penny. We're all going to be having our meetups and clinking glasses and shaking hands and having a great time. So because this is like, we have Chat GPT for our chat and our content, taking selfies, self-driving cars. This is something Robert was mentioning. Artificial intelligence was needed for finance, but in a true form, and we see that it's working. So, do you guys have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, thanks for doing it.
It's my pleasure.
It was a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, guys. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and you see I got a background now. And I'm getting my OBS just to learn how to merge it with with StreamYard. It's all getting there. Thanks for being here with me while I'm on my learning curve. I know you guys are new to streaming too, so it's awesome to learn this with you guys. Mr. Wolfe, Shades, Huddle Strong, I'll be seeing you in the chat on Twitter or next time we're on here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
You guys.
You guys have a good day.
You too.